The Hangout Air is live. Okay. Hey everyone, my name's Darren Fink. I'm with Transfiguring Adoption. Transfiguring Adoption creates media and resources to nurture growth and foster adoptive families. And it's probably been about 3 years ago, or maybe even longer, that we were actually homeschooling our children when we lived in Southern Illinois, and I was looking for a great way to teach our kids about pointillism. And when I was doing a web search and YouTube search, I came across Artrageous with Nate, and it is a phenomenal resource. It's not directly dealing with foster and adoptive children. It's actually with PBS Digital Studios. But it's going to be a great resource for foster adoptive parents because it deals with art, and that's one way for kids to express themselves and get their voice back. So I have Nate Heck with us, and I just wanted to, Nate, can you just say hi, and can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, sure. No, sorry. My name is Nate, and yeah, I'm the host of the program. So I kind of try to do a little bit of everything with it. Basically because, yeah, my background is in teaching, which I hope that kind of comes across. I kind of treat what I'm doing as like an interactive classroom. So my background's in teaching, but my other background is, well, one's art education and the other is I used to teach teachers how to edit video, Adobe products, that kind of thing. So, yeah, so my background, if you kind of put all those pieces together, and yeah, I love working with kids, and I absolutely love seeing them make something. So I really just try to take all of those experiences and make something, which is kind of funny because I don't really want kids to watch my program on a device, which is kind of weird. But at the end of the day, hopefully it's really, I want it to be a catalyst so that kids can express themselves and they can make something. So yeah, I'm pumped, and I gotta admit, I'm super excited when you contacted me, just hearing about the connection, especially with adoption and the process of them going through that. And it definitely intrigued me, especially as you said, I feel like art is therapeutic on a million different levels. So getting to hear a deeper sense of, you know, what's happening and then how I can help and what I can do. I mean, I'm really excited about it.
Good deal. Well, tell us a little bit. How did Artrageous with Nate? How did that even come to be? Like, what sparked that? How did you start doing what you were doing?
Yeah, really, the first time I tried to play with it was I just wanted to. I always liked the idea of play, so I was playing with a green screen, and I always wanted to do. I used to teach about Edvard Munch, specifically that story, a lot. So I decided one day, I was like, you know what, there's some cool, I'm going to play it, some animation here, and threw myself on a green screen. And then I put that out, and then not so much art related, but I created a video on bullying. It was more of a side project just because I was kind of getting tired of seeing it. I taught elementary to college, so it didn't seem to matter what level was at. There was some of it happening. And long story short, I put that out, and I had like St. Jude and a bunch of children's hospitals that were contacting me about it. And so then, long story short, yeah, I mean, you know, just kind of putting the idea out there. And I sent the Edvard Munch video, which was honestly, now that I look at it, was horrific. But it was, you know, it was definitely me just trying to do what I could do with the resources I had. But yeah, just getting feedback from museums and seeing what teachers want, what homeschool parents want, what you know, and I'm always trying to, you know, dig that up. So, yeah, so then it was just a matter of, I'll be honest with you, I literally just emailed some discs and some links to some people at PBS and said, hey, I need some help making this. Anybody up for helping me? And it just kind of continued to roll from there. And I mean, I've been very fortunate that I've had some really awesome people. I try to surround myself with people who are way more awesome than I am. Really help keep moving this ball forward. So yeah, I mean, a lot of it's just divine intervention and just seeing what's out there. So yeah, great question.
That's amazing. We have, you're talking about how it's playful. We actually, when I mentioned that we were doing homeschool with our kids and I wanted to teach them about pointillism, one of the things they loved about first of all, I'll just tell people the Surratt video that we saw was it actually teaches them historically about the artist, and then it'll actually go and teach them some scientific fact with the art, and then it'll kind of show them how to do things. My kids loved. There's a portion where I think it's a tarp, and you're taking the huge PVC paintbrushes that you have, and you're just stomping like dots on them, and then the airplane's going overhead. They love that, and then after that, they couldn't wait to do some pointillism stuff of their own. So, how do you think up the playful engagement stuff or the playful activities that you have? Where does that come from?
I like the challenge of trying to do something that involves, and that one it was just me, but just massive scale. I think kids, love the idea of, is it even humanly possible? That one literally, we didn't even test it. It just in my mind, I thought we had access to an airplane, so I was like, we got to use the airplane somehow. So
sure.
Yeah, and coming up here, we're doing one on Fred Rogers. We're gonna do it'll be, again, we're gonna use a helicopter so you can see it, but we're doing Andy Warhol episode, and then we're going to. It's kind of. I'll fully admit I have a man crush on Fred Rogers. I mean, he's my home. I love that guy.
You're in good company. He did a book on Let's Talk About Adoption, so we just did our man crush book review on him.
That's right. I mean, the guy, he did it for all the right reasons, and he just he tapped into a lot of cool things that I love about him. But long story short, we're gonna do Andy Warhol inspired portraits. We're gonna silk screen them on. It's about 4 parking lots in size, and then I'm working with the school on that one where we're gonna kind of like the Marilyn Monroe repeated pattern. So again, I usually like to do something that's kind of insane, that there's really probably no way you're going to do that at home, but it's a cool experience. But then try to do something which I show my age in saying the MacGyver moment. Something I'm literally, as you can see in the background, I work out of my basement a lot. I don't like working in the cubicle at PBS. So I like being in here because literally I look around and go, what do I have? And what do kids probably have access to or could get cheaply or inexpensively? And so it's some sort of at-home project that gets you moving. So that's a great question. I love what your kids got out of that. So thanks for sharing.
I would almost say that your episodes remind me of kind of 3-2-1 Contact meets Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood meets Double Dare, or some Nickelodeon episode. Like, it really does a good job. It does a good job of melding. Let's learn, but this is so much fun. You don't know you're learning. It's
a good point. Thank you.
Fun.
Yeah. So, no. And you kind of hit on. I'll be honest. Yeah, some of the inspiration that I dig into is one, the Fred Rogers aspect. But another one is, I'll be honest, Alton Brown, Bill Nye, because like you said, in teaching art, when I would teach it, I quickly realized I wasn't even shoving science or math into it. It just would come. It just kind of surfaced on its own. So I think even for myself, I'm really intrigued wherever there's science involved. For example, coming out here in April, we have 3 different episodes on Michelangelo and the Sistine Chapel, and 2 of them deal with more like the history of it. One's called The Wonder Years to David. So it's like his young, growing up kind of thing. But there's one episode where it pushed me into a corner because I did the science of fresco. So I just wanted to know there's something chemically going on there that I'm intrigued. And I hope kids won't get lost in the, I go down to a molecular level, but again, it's just taking it to another level of there's more going on here. And I'll be honest, and I've realized now is, I want to give a lot of credit to the arts, obviously. So if I can help, I'll be honest, I'm hoping that episode is one where, an art teacher or someone who's teaching art or creativity or whatever can use it in that realm, but then the science teacher either down the hallway or in the science lesson might be watching the same episode. That would be a really cool moment for me. So I really love you're hitting on a lot of the shows that, I'll be honest, one of my favorite books is Steal Like an Artist. It's like this thick, it's teeny tiny, but it's It is. It's like, I think kids are so pressured to always come up with something original when I think some of the best ideas are recycled. So I'm trying to take that in my own. I don't pretend like I have it figured out, but I definitely am taking the cues of people with black belts and shows that have done it right, you know? So yeah, whatever makes me more effective for kids, I'll definitely take notice.
So why you have this interest in art, and you have a talent to educate educators and kids. So why are you concentrating on the art aspect? I mean, we've seen schools have cut funding and stuff for art programs. I know with our own kids, art just isn't a key component anymore to their education. Why would you focus on art in your shows?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think it's been a really interesting journey, even just this year, as we've been pumping out some episodes where, like I think I even mentioned, where it's not even art, but more like the creativity side of it. So whether it's, we did one on a microbiologist, and actually we have one coming out where I basically went with Delta Faucet, which is really weird, but I get really excited about talking about it because I think I walked out of that experience, their R&D team, and I followed a female designer who got inspired by like a milk carton and was able to then craft in this really creative way. She worked with an engineer on how do I take that inspired design, and one of them was with a penguin. It was really cool, but how do I take that and then make that a product? And so I think why I'm so still focused on the arts in general is just because, like you're saying, is I mean, I'll be honest, before I stopped being what I call a classroom teacher, I was between, at that point, I was teaching college in the evenings, but I was between 3 and 4 schools because of funding. It was just cut, 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 cut. And so I want to help justify how important creativity is, and not so much just the like I like to say, I don't really care so much about the product, but I'm very concerned that kids get the process. So I want them to see it as fun and engaging, because that process of creativity, as I like to tell kids, I usually tell them if I go to a school and speak, I tell them I don't really care if you become an artist, which usually kind of makes them like, what? I thought you were here to convince me to be an artist. But I'm like, if you can just keep that idea of you are creative, you are innovative. I don't care what you do, as you probably know, that's going to make you so much more valuable for yourself, to others, and just cultivating that concept, I think, will then also, in turn, I hope, when that art teacher's realizing the cuts are coming or whatever, that they can say, you know what I am doing is so important, because as I just made a video recently where I highlighted the number one trait that Fortune 500 company CEOs want is creativity and innovation. So in order to get that, we kind of need to make sure that we're teaching that, and even not so much in teaching it, but encouraging it, whether it's at home or school or wherever. So yeah, you're right. It's a definite, sorry, that's definitely a soapbox moment for me, but it's crazy important, and whatever I can do to help keep that focus, that it is, you can see it across all spectrums of jobs and, skill levels. So yeah, great question.
So one thing that I see with foster and adoptive kiddos is they've lost a voice, and I appreciate you talking about how it's the creativity, it's learning how to get the process down. It's not, hey, you're going to be an artist. It's, there's a way to do this. There's some things, some tools, some theory, some ideas behind this for you to come up with your own ideas. But let me show you how to do this so that you can get to your creativity. A lot of our kids are coming, and when I say our kids, I mean foster adoptive kids as a whole, are coming from a place where they've lost their voice. They've been with adults that won't let them make decisions. They've been abused. They might get into a foster home where the foster parents want them to do things a certain way. And I think and sometimes it comes out of a well-meaning place where it's, you have to brush your teeth this way, and you have to do things this way, and you have to, because they're wanting these abused kids or kids from traumatic places to learn how to function in the real world and get what they're missing. But I appreciate what you're talking about with the process, is sometimes it's just fun to have the kiddo in a realm where they're learning how to talk, or they're learning how to engage with people and talk. I know with our middle son, for him, he has speech problems where he can't recall words all the time. And art's a great way for him to say, hey, this isn't right or wrong. What your outcome isn't right or wrong. You're just trying to learn how to engage and talk with people. What's it like for you like when you're there's so many of the episodes where you're with students. What's it like working with the students? Is there any student that you can remember that there was just a memorable moment?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, wow. Yeah. Those are really good questions. Yeah, I would say as far as the memorable moment one, for me, yeah, I mean, I can look back and really, I can look back and think of students who were incredibly gifted as far as like they had a natural skill for the skill. So, they could actually make, and they were amazing makers. And while I really enjoyed those kids, and some of them I still, kids as it could be even college students, but I still keep in touch with them. But really one of my favorites, and I know I kind of got to know her whole family. Her name was Lauren, and she just needed a way to speak. In essence, I'm not physically speak, but I think she was struggling just to communicate with her peers, and just couldn't fit in to just the social aspects of school. Sure. But I could clearly see, and that's one of my favorite things about art, is you could see that interaction. You could see that something sparked in her, a creativity, a way to express herself. And I think that, to me, was probably, out of a lot of experiences, probably one of the most memorable for me, because she is now, she's in college now, which is crazy, but yeah, but nonetheless, I see her anytime I can get a chance to. She will converse with me, and I'll converse with her. And I think seeing her gain confidence in herself through the act of creation, and again, I think it's a really important concept. And like when you mentioned to me first, even through email, of these adoptive kids, and to that's kind of an outlet for them to speak, to find a voice. And so, yeah, I'll be honest with you, even when I speak to art teachers, it's very easy for art teachers, or when you're teaching art at home, that you get very focused on that. Okay, I need for you to make this. Right. And while those key concepts are great, that's why, I'll be honest, one of the things I get emailed a lot is, why don't you, when I do a project at the end of the show, why don't you show me the finished project? Like, you stop. Right. And I said, that's not because I'm lazy, I promise. It's because I realize that if I finish it, it becomes more about, I need to make it look like what Nate did. Or I set this standard of, it needs to look like this, and if it doesn't, then I failed. Whereas I just want you to take some of the key ideas, but I want you to run with just expressing yourself, have fun. I mean, I cannot say enough about art needs to be fun. Creating needs to be fun. So if it's an outlet, which makes, in my opinion, complete sense for kids to be able to find art as a way to express themselves in that process of adoption, and finding a voice when you don't have one. I love that. And I think it's fantastic that you and your group are encouraging it. So
right now you're on PBS Digital. I'm not sure everyone knows what that is. What can you kind of explain where you're at right now?
Sure. Yeah, I'll try to summarize it quickly, because it's very true. We were making big episodes, as in like 29-minute things you would probably see. But and again, I'm trying to get feedback from a lot of educators and museums and the kids who are watching this. And let's just be honest. I mean, the reality is nobody's watching that often at 3:30 on Friday, and they've got 30 minutes. So we realized very quickly that, especially with educators, they wanted everything in 10-minute chunks. And so we said, why don't we just take what we do on a big scale, divide it up, so that we're still hitting the history, the science, the art, the art experience, but let's make it so that they could take that chunk and then just boom, insert it into whatever they're doing. And then it also just makes it for the generation that's watching everything on demand when they want it. So we heard about PBS Digital, and to compare it, PBS Digital really in a lot of ways is PBS, them understanding that like Netflix and Hulu and all those formats, that's where it's headed. PBS knows it, and they are kind of becoming a real innovation hub. And so we literally, when heard about it and contacted them and said, hey, we want to be a part of this, can we? And they said yes. And so we are producing with them right now. Our shows we repackage them, which is kind of cool, back into 28-minute episodes, which we will syndicate those through American Public Television. So hopefully, if you should, I hope, get it literally on maybe at like a Thursday or Friday at 4:30. If not, you could call your PBS station and tell them to grab it, because it's free. I just put them up there. So yeah, so PBS Digital, though, you can go. It is internet based. So again, we work through their YouTube channel and our YouTube channel. We also right now, I hope this week, we are working with PBS Learning Media, where they will also show. And then of course, we're making interactive teaching resources that will go along with most of our episodes. So I hope that we'll launch those pretty soon as well. But PBS Digital Studios, like I said, is accessible through online is the best way to find it and find us. So
what can people do when they see this? I think they're going to want to get involved with this. They're going to want to help out. What do people need to do if they want to get behind Artrageous with Nate?
Yeah, that's a great question. On a simplistic level, honestly, subscribing to what we do on YouTube is priceless. Following what we're doing, we're on Twitter, Instagram, that kind of thing is very helpful. The other thing really is I love. There's a part of me that misses the standard classroom, and so I just yesterday had we released an episode on this graffiti mural artist who does crazy illustrations. He made me feel not adequate. He was so good. But what an awesome guy. But nonetheless, I love it when people send me their work. So they shared it. I think that one was on Twitter. But again, I love it to see what you're making. And I make a point of like, this is the Fred Rogers for me. I don't know if you know, Fred Rogers, this is letter writing years. He every stinking letter. I mean, that man, he got up, he would swim, he ate, and then he answered letters forever. So point being is I do the same thing. I love getting any feedback. And so whether that's through contacting us through email or making comments, but kids, send me your work. I'm always telling them, just send me pictures. Have your parents send them to me. Trust me, I will look at it and I will respond because I really appreciate that. So yeah, beyond subscribing and whatnot and just following us is definitely just show me what you're making or give me ideas. What do you want to learn about? That is a parent. That is a great call right there. What episode are you dying to see? I had one call me out on Monet the other day. So, again, I appreciate that. Like, what do you want to see? Help me out. I want to hear what you have to say. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Those are the ends of the questions that I have written down. Is there anything that you specifically want to say to people that are watching this, or do you have anything you want to add?
Not other than just, keep doing what you're doing. Like I said, I have a lot of friends who have adopted, and it is a, wow, I have a amazing respect for that and for the process that those kids go through. I have two nieces, a niece and a nephew, who are adoptive and came here with not knowing a single word of English. So, I know that difficult process. And so if there's a way that, to want to encourage you or to also realize that, take whatever it is that I can provide and, to use it and let them express themselves, especially through a creative outlet. And again, to the feedback thing, if you've got experience in that, because when you contacted me, I was super intrigued and excited about that. So again, even on a teaching resource level, I have a team at a couple universities that we meet, and there's only 2 art teachers, and the rest of us are everything from special needs to I have a chemistry teacher to a microbiology teacher to a history teacher. So I try to make sure that if there is a need out there, if we can tap into a better way to help, whatever that might look like, again, contact me, because I love hearing about that, and it's an important area, and I'm just grateful and thankful that if Artrageous can be a part of helping these kids acclimate a little bit better, then that to me is priceless. So yeah, and keep, just like I said, keep doing what you're doing, and all the parents who are in that process. My heart's out to you, and I appreciate what you're doing. It's awesome.
Well, Nate, thank you so much for joining with us. If you're watching this, you need to go check out his website, which is at artrageouswithnate.com. Also go to YouTube and do a search for Artrageous with Nate. You're going to want to see those episodes. Give him feedback. I hope as a foster adoptive parent you're hearing right now, I know it takes a village to raise a child, and Nate is right here telling you that he will be a member of your village as a resource and a tool. And I'm even hearing him. A lot of our kiddos are wanting to be proud of themselves for something, and he's even sitting here right now saying that he will see their picture, what they're making, and he is going to be a cheerleader for them. So I hope you use him as a resource and tool. Nate, thank you again so much for being with us. I'm going to talk with you a little bit after we sign out here. Again, this is Darren Fink with Transfiguring Adoption. Check out Artrageous with Nate. We hope this has helped you to grow and nurture your foster and adoptive family.